Good morning, everyone. My name is Tehya Stockman. I am from Adams County Community and Economic Development in the Environmental Programs Division. I am the Air Quality Policy and Program Specialist. And really, I want to present today about why indoor air quality is important. So first, just an overview. Why should we even care about indoor air quality? What are the major sources of indoor air pollution? What air pollutants do we care about indoors? How can I decrease my exposure to indoor air pollution? And then just sharing some other programs as well. So there are many reasons to care about indoor air quality. So indoor air pollution is often higher than outdoors. This is because we're living in a space. So all of the things that can happen is kind of stuck in this space instead of being able to be moved by the wind. There are many health effects of air pollution, which includes indoor air pollution. And air pollution also decreases productivity and can lead to behavioral issues in children as well. So it's very complicated to understand exactly how air pollution impacts health. So this is kind of a model with starting with the source and ending with your health effects. This is showing indoor air pollution, but it can also be applied to outdoor air sources such as Suncor as well. So we have the source, which is what is emitted. We have the emission, which is how much is emitted. We have the measurements, so the concentration, which we can see using sensors and monitoring equipment. We have the exposure, which is, okay, we know what the concentration is in the air, but what are you actually breathing? We have the dose, which is like taking into account how much you breathe in and out. And then we have interactions with the body, which leads to health impacts. So this is really how we think about understanding from the source to what's actually impacting your body. So it's very, very complicated, which is why we need all of these different studies to understand what's actually happening in the body itself. So we're first going to focus on health impacts because that's what we really care about. If what's emitted doesn't have health impacts or doesn't impact the environment or doesn't impact nature, we wouldn't care about it, but we really care about it because it impacts us. There are a lot of common health impacts of indoor air quality. So it exacerbates asthma, especially in children. If you have heart issues or COPD, it can cause additional issues there. There's a lot of allergies that can happen indoors. So thinking about dust mites, pollen, all of these things that can come into your house. You can get headaches and eye issues, redness in your eyes, and then there's this thing called sick building syndrome, which is where a lot of people can experience feeling down and feeling unable to focus, and it can actually be caused by the building that you're in. Which is very interesting because it can, we're thinking about like the environment that we're living in, this building. This is just kind of an overview of what the different sources of air pollution are in the home. So all of the different places in your home can have different sources of air pollution. So there can be dust, there can be cooking, mold from the bathroom or other humid environments. And then also personal care products that you use. So now we're going to look a deeper depth into what is emitted in your house and all of the different sources of indoor air pollution. So there's many different types of sources of indoor air pollution. The biggest one is cooking. So cooking, if you notice, sometimes your smoke alarm goes off, sometimes there's a big haze in the kitchen. Even if you don't see that, there still can be air pollution from cooking. Personal care products. So if you've ever, used products that have a really good smell, that can actually exacerbate asthma symptoms in some people. Cleaning products. It's better to use soap and water than bleach. So bleach is very toxic, especially in small indoor environments. So if you were to clean your bathroom with bleach, make sure that you're always ventilating it because it can really cause health impacts. Smoking and vaping is also a really big one in your house that can because unlike outside where that plume can be dispersed elsewhere, it just instead builds up indoors. And then a big one, outdoor air pollution. We're all aware, when people get the nosebleeds at night when they're in their homes, but that's actually because of the outdoor air pollution coming in. And then any source of combustion or burning. So that includes incense, candles, all of these things can be a source of indoor air pollution. And we're not saying that none of these things shouldn't happen in your home. Everyone needs to eat. We like candles, but it's important to make sure that we're properly ventilating our space in order to not have that impact our health. Another big one is radon. So radon is a radioactive gas that can be especially in basements and the first floor of homes. And it leads to approximately 500 lung cancer deaths in Colorado each year. So this is something that we will be especially looking into with these future grant opportunities. Carbon monoxide is known as the silent killer. Sometimes if it's, your furnace is malfunctioning, it can build up in your home, and then people go to sleep and they don't end up waking up because of too much carbon monoxide. Carbon dioxide, on the other hand, is what we all breathe out. So when there's a lot of people in a space, it's good to have, the door open, ventilation, because you don't want to have this carbon dioxide building up in the space, which can make everyone feel sleepy. Asbestos is not as a problem with new homes, but it can be a problem with older homes. So it's like these little particles in the ceiling where there's a lot of what's the word? Insulation, thank you. And then people and living things. So, dogs are, yes. So people and living things. So dogs are very cute, but they also track in a lot of things from the outside, right? So those are very different things. So I just want to break this down a little bit more. So combustion can release carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, VOCs, which is the volatile organic compounds, or the things that you can smell. And then particulate matter, which are these little particles in the air that can cause health impacts. So this is just showing a study, and the biggest thing to look at is you see indoor, no activity. There's nothing happening. There's no particulate matter, very little. And then Thanksgiving Day, when we're cooking all the time, the whole day. So this is just to simulate a day of a whole bunch of cooking. 150 micrograms. This is like extreme, And then the days where there's some cooking and cleaning, we're actually generating these particles in our house. So there's many different sources of air pollution that release volatile organic compounds, or the things you can smell. And the main takeaway I want you to get from this slide is thinking about the products that you use in your home that include words that say fragrances or phthalates, that really hard word to say. And the problem with these is they act as endocrine disruptors, which is it mimics the hormones in your body and can cause health impacts. So it can cause headaches, asthma, allergies, and also reproductive issues. So it kind of mimics what's happening already in your body and can cause health impacts because it mimics those hormones. And then living things also produce a whole bunch of things indoors. So bioaerosols, so if someone is sick, you can spread it indoors by coughing. Also, bacteria and fungi can not just be on the ground, but can also be suspended in the air. Carbon dioxide, as I previously said, is released when we breathe out. And then volatile organic compounds are actually released from the skin. So if you've ever gone into a space and said, it smells like people in here, you're actually smelling people. So this is the big one. How do we actually reduce indoor air pollution? So this is looking at the same diagram I showed earlier, but thinking about first we want to remove the source. So that's, not having candles or having fewer candles or not smoking indoors, things like that. And that will reduce the emissions. And then the biggest one for when you're cooking, having the hood over your stove greatly reduces the concentration in your home. And we also have air cleaners, the portable air cleaners that we have that we can actually give out today that also helps with cooking pollution. We have N95 well-fitted masks also today that we will be handing out, and those will decrease your exposure. And really all of these things, the purpose of it is to make sure that you're breathing in less of the pollution and you're healthier. So that's the goal. So luckily the portable air cleaners that we're handing out already fit all of these criteria, so we don't have to worry about it too much. The biggest thing that I want to take away today is if you wanted to source one yourself, make sure it says true HEPA and avoid HEPA-like. There's this thing called CADR. Make sure it's about 200. And then you'll want to replace your filter. So even the one that we have today for you, 1 to 2 times per year, it'll be good. And then you want to avoid anything that says ozone generator or ionizer, because all that does is add more air pollution to your house. So we don't want anything that says, when there's a high ozone day, the same thing can happen in your home if you're using one of these ozone generators. And then air cleaners that destroy air pollution are bogus. They are completely a sham. And then I just wanted to, we'll be able to share these slides. The New York Times has really good reviews on air cleaners. And then the other thing that I wanted to bring up is creating a clean room in your home. So this is for when those days, like let's say Sungor has a high pollution event, or there is a whole bunch of wildfire smoke and you can smell that smoke in your home. The best thing to do is have a room, a smaller place that you can use the air cleaner inside to reduce your exposure even more. So this will be, you want to make sure that this is room you're not cooking, you're not smoking, there's no candles or incense or anything else in that room that could generate air pollution. And you want to close the windows and close the doors. And if you are able to, add the little weather stripping to the windows and doors just to further seal the room for those high pollution events. And then just make sure that you're using your air cleaner in the room. And this is like the best way really that the EPA has for reducing your exposure. And then if you were to go outside during a wildfire event, making sure that you have your well-fitted N95 mask that you're wearing to go around and do your daily activities, and to limit exercise and other really heavy things happening. And I also have a whole bunch of resources that the purpose of these resources is really, we will be consolidating more of these resources in the next few months to make sure that they are available in a more easy to understand way. And we would love input from all of you to make sure that it all makes sense and that they're actually practical solutions. And with that, thank you.